Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. I'm here today with Anna Morsett of The Still Tide, an awesome indie folk rock. I fucked up already because I need you to tell me what you label your music as, what you genre label it as. I just became a real prick and labeled it for you.
No, I really appreciated that, actually. I was like, God, what are we now? I don't know. I think I always just say indie rock because it's like the most vague like umbrella I could put the band under. It seems like a catch-all. Yeah, I guess indie rock, but kind of a folk vibe sometimes like a singer-songwriter vibe. Oh God. Yeah. Can I just, maybe just indie rock? Is that still even a usable term?
It's pretty encompassing, just using the indie rock. So we'll run with that.
Great.
So let me get a little background about the Still Tide, how it came about. I know you're originally from the Pacific Northwest, then to Brooklyn, then now out to Colorado. So how did things all transpire there?
Gosh, yeah, it feels like a long time ago now. Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like the last 2 years have kind of put so much in perspective in that way that now I'm like, God, I guess it's been like 10 years. But yeah, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Olympia, Washington, and then spent some time in Portland, went to school out there, and then went to New York. And that's when things kind of actually started to happen. And I threw a band together. I guess I was like, oh, God, maybe 2011. So like 10 years ago. And we had a different band name and like kind of a different vibe. And I think the scene that we were playing within in New York, like all the gigs that you would get when you were like, up or starting out in New York were like, there was like a night would have like 8 or 10 slots on it, and you would get like your 30-minute slot and like make all of your friends come out for that one slot. And then it was just like hustle on and off. And, the scene was, I don't know, so I guess I kind of like associate that time with just this energy of, as far as musically and how this all began, was like trying so hard to like shout to the back of a room, like over bar noise and over a crowd that wasn't yours, or like, people just hanging out and being loud. So I have this like vibe or this like feeling of us in New York just shouting to the back of this room. So we were much more of like a harder indie rock band at that time, which was kind of, even though I think my like songwriting style was kind of more tender, and I think I guess like through college and even my high school years was always writing songs, and they were always kind of like very singer-songwriter vibes. And then like throwing a band around it, you really had to like play to be heard. And so we were kind of more of a rock vibe then. And then, so we did that for a while. And then I moved out of New York around 2012 and came to Colorado. And there was, at the time when I first started here in Denver, there was like a really amazing and super inclusive music scene. And I think that was the first time I kind of got to settle back into where I started songwriting, and because people would actually listen and be quiet. And I like didn't even know what to do with that. I was like terrified half the time that people would like come to the shows and then like listen to the music. So I think in that way, I kind of like the style changed, I think, there when I came to Colorado. Yeah. So that's kind of how we got here to where we are now. But it was much more of like a harder rock band, and that was super fun, but kind of has evolved from there, I guess.
Was it not what you wanted to do? Did you not feel that harder rock band sound, or was it, just something that you're like, I like what I'm doing, but I feel there's a different way to go with this?
I think I had so much fun with it. I think I really have that, like, kind of, or like, love, like, dancing around on stage and being a little wild and kind of like just having a good time. And I think, and especially playing with your bandmates and having that kind of like back and forth energy. And in that way, I really loved it. But I think, like, maybe lyrically in the songs I was writing, or the things that kind of like kept coming out, or kind of like, I think, like, all of the lyrics that I was writing, like, I don't think you could ever hear those in those environments, I guess. So I think in that way, like, kind of getting back to a really strong lyrical focus was really important. And I think that's where my heart kind of was always living, even though we were doing the rock thing and that was fun. But there was like an element of it missing. Like, there wasn't a depth that I think I was kind of later came to when I came here, was able to achieve, because people were listening. Like, you couldn't really get away with the, like, made up lyrics that, because, like, I think that's like a good example. And I'm sure you can relate, where you're like, really love like a melody or a riff or the song, and like the energy's so good and you're playing it with a band and this feels great. Oh my God. And then you want to go out and play it, but like haven't written any of the lyrics. So you're just like kind of like making it up and like shouting into the mic, and like pretty sure that no one can really hear you anyway. And so I'm sure there were several nights out there early on where you like just so badly wanted that energy of a rock band and that feeling, but like the lyrics weren't there. And then when suddenly I came here and people were really listening, and then of course, like when I came here, it was just me, and so it was me solo for the first like year or so. And then of course people are really kind of tuned in to what you're singing about. So if those lyrics don't make sense, like, you just kind of die on stage.
Yeah, they'll call you out real quick on your shit.
Yeah. So I think maybe in that way it was kind of like both inspired to kind of like follow through lyrically, or kind of like create a depth in the songs that I was working on, but also like the bar was higher because people were paying attention in a way that they hadn't in New York. And I think that's kind of was the nature of just where we were in New York and the rooms we were playing to, because that whole scene it felt really saturated to me, and it was so hard to kind of like find a foothold, and also just to find the community that I really so longed for. And I mean, we had community members, but there wasn't like a center or a core that I felt there. And that was kind of, I didn't realize that was missing, I guess, until I came to Denver.
Yeah, well, especially in New York, Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn is now the place. I mean, I live right outside of New York City, so all the shows that I go to are in the city. And my new rule after going to Brooklyn so many times is I no longer will travel over two bridges. So Brooklyn's like out for me, because it is one of those things where it has become saturated. It's almost to the point where it's its own like Spotify or Bandcamp. There's so much shit coming out of Brooklyn, and you just don't know what to hold on to. And that sense of community that started years ago in Brooklyn is kind of gone away, because everyone comes to Brooklyn and now they're from Brooklyn.
Yeah. That feels real. I mean, and that felt real. Like, I guess even when I was there like 10 years ago, there's like, yeah, I feel like everyone, at least, and I was kind of in that younger, I think I moved there when I was like, had just turned 24. So like being in your 20s too, there's like a specific energy around like finding yourself and finding your people, and like just that kind of like wild like adventure. I don't know. I guess we all just had so much more energy then.
Well, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, I'm 20 years past that 24 age, and when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel 24, but in the middle of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm still 24. I can do the things I did. And then come to find out, you just fall down the stairs and, hey, yeah, you're not 24. So
that's, yeah.
I mean, that's life. I mean, you brought up something, what has kind of stuck out to me a lot of times too, for all the shows that I go to, is that noise that's there when someone's performing. It pisses me off to no end, to just hear how loud a crowd can be when someone, people, I bought my ticket to see, the headliner. Well, also give respect to everybody who's playing before them, because they're doing the same fucking thing that the people that you're here to see are going to do. And you never know, you find that diamond in the rough, you could find your favorite new band, but you're talking about something that has no meaning. give the artist a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
It's so tough. And I mean, I see it constantly over and over again. I'm like, can you shut up? Someone's on stage and they wrote a song, they put their heart and soul into it, and they're telling you about it, and you're paying zero attention to it.
Yeah. I think that, like, I wonder too if now I'm thinking back to all those rooms and exactly that moment where I feel like I just watched so many singer-songwriters specifically, or solo acts, or people playing like really quiet, delicate music, and they just got like, decimated because the room was so loud, and you would just kind of watch them like, depending on who it was, of course, and how used to the noise they were, but just kind of watch them crumble. And it was so heartbreaking. I think there was a part of me that saw that and was like, well, I can't do that. Like, we can't do that. I don't want that. So then we leaned so hard into this other way that, it was really fun. And I did enjoy that on some level, but I think there was something that was kind of missing. And like the music that I would listen to is like, I guess, more lyrically. I mean, that's like, we connect to so many different pieces of different music, and depending on like when it touches our lives and all that. But I think lyrics are so important. And then I think to like not quite, I don't know, feel like that kind of connection to a crowd, maybe that was part of what was missing.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought up the times in your life of when music became something, and there's two pivotal moments that I usually call out. One is your first musical memory, the first time you heard music, and then the second time is the first time you found your own music. Like, do you remember your first musical memory, like the first time you heard music that wasn't theme song for a TV show or a cartoon or something?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Actually, the first CD that I bought, weirdly, was like a compilation of Saturday morning cartoon songs.
Was it the punk rock one?
Yes. Or it was like,
was it called Saturday Morning Cartoons? And
yeah.
Face to Face did the Popeye theme song, and
It was something like that. Yeah, it was a bunch of like bands that didn't. Oh God, now I'm like, who was even on that record? But I remember being like, I feel like the Ramones were on there, maybe.
Probably.
Oh my God. It was, yeah, years and years ago. But weirdly, when you said theme songs, I was like, oh my God, wait, that was the first CD. But my first musical memory, it's a good question. I think.
Yeah, the Ramones did Spider-Man on that.
Oh, yeah, that would, yes. Oh my God, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, and I remember it specifically because my favorite cartoon growing up was Popeye, and my favorite band of all time was Face to Face, and they did Popeye, and I was like, how fucking awesome is this? But I mean, there was mad awesome people. Liz Phair was on it, Mary Lou Lord, who I loved, Matthew Sweet. Look, I mean, Violent Femmes were on. I mean, look at this.
Oh my God. Yeah, that must have been. And like, I'm like, why that CD? Like, but I loved it. I'm sure I still have it somewhere.
So that was the first CD you bought. Was that like what turned you on to music, or was it the theme songs that turned you on to music, or did you have anything going on in a household? A lot of people I get all the times, my parents listen to the Beatles. I was like, no shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So your parents are older than you and they listen to the Beatles. Good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think actually Fleetwood Mac is the one that I remember the most. Like my dad, we had a family collection of records, and I remember Fleetwood Mac the most. And he had a guitar and would always like play along to everything. And I think that was the first time that I like really saw music in that way in the house. And that, I think, kind of shifted my like understanding of music too. And also, I think, and I was thinking about this earlier today, actually, was just trying to remember how everything began. And I think part of it was just watching my dad play guitar to all these songs, but he was just so happy. And like watching my dad be happy playing music was like, oh my God, like that was such a memory. And I think that was probably why it struck me or stayed with me. But that would probably be the first one, like the first time. And then I think musically, I didn't really, like, I don't know, like middle school, my sister, I have an older sister, and she was listening to like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and all of those records eventually came down to me. So I think I kind of was like, as a middle schooler, kind of like under that like Seattle vibe. So I think that's like the first time I like felt like I belong, like I think acknowledge that I belonged somewhere else. I guess if that makes sense. There was a radio station that we used to listen to called 107.7 The End, and they would do a top 10 countdown, and I would like listen to it religiously, and I had cassette tapes and I would record it every night and then like take it to school on my Walkman or whatever. And so I think the songs from that countdown was like kind of a big deal, like that adolescent, like when you start to discover music and you kind of start to find where you belong in the world, I guess is what I'm getting after, is like that period of time and like that era of like grunge music kind of, I think, pulled me into a different space than I would have been before. And I felt kind of like I could see where I fit into the world, I guess.
Yeah, and when it came to grunge too, the way that I look at grunge through growing up at the height of it is what it truly was it gave everyone an opportunity to belong. With music prior to that, you had your pop stuff, your Madonna, and then you had your sorry, I don't want the glam rock, but people call it glam metal, whatever it is, but you kind of had to like fit a mold and belong. Where in grunge, you could just wear a t-shirt and listen to music and you were fine. You like it, and I also think it made it accessible to people and showed people that you don't have to really do anything crazy and outlandish to play music.
Yeah.
You can just do it.
Oh, exactly. Nailed it. That's, I think that, made it seem accessible in a way that, I don't know what else around that time felt that way, really.
No, and again, like I've said, bringing into like Nirvana's Nevermind, like everybody's like, it's such a pivotal album, and I'll just say to people, I'm like, yeah, it is. I go, when's the last time you've listened to it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not this thing that needs to stand on a pedestal. Like it's not the gold standard. I'm like, listen, they did something, they broke through, but it's not necessarily a great album. But it just broke down. It literally kicked down the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. It just broke through the wall of music and it came into your face smelling like Teen Spirit. Oh yeah. And here it was, but it gave other musically talented bands a way to perform. But that's usually my thing for when it comes to a great album. They're like, oh man, that's a great album. I'm like, yeah, when's the last time you listened to it? And they're like, oh shit, like 18 years ago. Well, how great can it be?
Yeah, I was like, God, when was the last time I listened to any of that? We just had COVID out here, so I'm still kind of like a little coffee. But during that time when we were in quarantine, I like watched a bunch of music documentaries and a bunch of old concert footage, and went kind of like started going back into like 90s music and just being like, what? Because now that our ears are so much more attuned to what production is or what elements are happening that we couldn't have really identified when we were listening to them as middle schoolers and high schoolers, like going back now and listening to some of those records and being so kind of like in awe of what production techniques were being used or what instrument or like song structure even, or like what was exciting at the time. But so I feel like weirdly, like speaking of not listening to those records, I've just started to kind of go back and listen to those records. Weirdly, like I went back and listened to, because I watched the Jagged, Alanis Morsett, that documentary, and went back and listened to that record. And then I was like, what do Sarah McLachlan's records sound like now? Like, like going back with my mind now to what I heard when I was like, a freshman in high school, and like listening to those records and being like, wow, this was a really clever idea. And like, oh, that's interesting. And then, yeah.
Instead of hearing the song, you hear the songwriting and the structure of the song and how everything was put together. I mean, and that is in and of itself an art form. To be able to sit down and listen to it and pick it out. I do it a lot, and and I'll like rewind songs and play for my wife. I'm like, no, listen to that syncopation on the drums. Like she's like, how the fuck did you hear that? I'm like, it's just because that's what I can, single out an instrument and be like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I feel like I hear it so much more differently than I ever did, which is exciting to go back and see what stands up and what doesn't. Kind of like what you're saying about Nevermind. Like, I'm like, I wonder if that record would stand
It
up.
doesn't.
It's shit. No.
Listen, it was great for the time. It doesn't, to me, and listen, I'm just an opinionated asshole with a microphone in front of him. But to me, it's just like, yeah, listen, it was great for the time. It broke down that wall. And after that, I don't really need to hear it ever again.
Yeah, that's funny. Now I'm going to have to, after this, I'll go listen to it. That's so funny.
Yeah, and then shoot me a message and be like, yeah, you were right.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm trying to think about what else. Recently, I went back and was like, God, I loved this record, or I like loved the song, and went back and was like, what the like, how did they get away with this? Like, how is this like, how are we all in love with this? And like lyrics or things that like we weren't really paying attention to at the time. I'm like, God, I can't believe we were like all shouting this lyric together at like a middle school dance. How did this, what happened?
Yeah, not like, not Nirvana's Rape Me at a middle school dance, right? Like they weren't playing that.
God.
No.
No. Man, weird to think about that whole era. I actually had a bandmate. It was so funny. We were like talking about musical influences. Like we were on tour together. I was playing bass with this band, and he was in this band, and we were on the road for a long time. And we were talking about our musical influences, and like I think it was one of those things where whoever's driving gets to choose whatever music, right?
Yeah.
And I think I was talking about like songs we grew up with, and we were talking about Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all that. And he had such a different experience with Nirvana, which I thought was so interesting. Like growing up in the Pacific Northwest, it was like, you know, those were our heroes and those were our anthems. But he grew up on I think maybe somewhere on the East Coast, I want to say. And by the time Nirvana reached him, it was like all the preppy and popular kids that were kind of like, those were their songs. And they were kind of like picking on him, and like a bunch of like negative stuff happened, but that was the music of like this prep crowd, which I thought it just blew my mind that it could have evolved from like where it was in my heart and in my growing up to like be the Bullies like songs.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that. And then like, you know, looking at all of like how that band evolved in like the media and through MTV and everything, and seeing how that happened was kind of just blew my little mind, thinking about how different songs were depending on who was like blasting them from their car or boombox, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what usually happens when something that massive happens. You know, for me, I have my one band that usually stands out to me that truly happened, that, you know, I saw a visceral change just in a school. Like I loved Green Day. Kerplunk was one of my favorite albums. I remember having a Green Day shirt on and dyeing my hair, and football players, because I was a soccer player, football players making fun of me, and, you know, I was a loser. And then the very next year, fucking Dookie hits, and they're pulling up in their Jeep Wranglers, fucking blasting it at the top of their head with their football jersey on. And I'm just like, hey, asshole, like that doesn't belong to you. That belongs to me. And then that was it for me. Like I literally was like, I checked out, like on Green Day. I was like, listen, they were phenomenal, and now I'm checking out because, you know, it no longer, you talk about that community, and that's what music has. Like you had the grunge scene in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, that was a community. That was a community of artists who all played together. And, you know, to think about on one couch in one house, the guys that were all in that one house at one time is mind numbing. And sadly, none of them are here anymore. But that's why I say, you know, rap Eddie Vedder and bubble wrap, because he's the last one going. So hopefully he can stay around for a little while. But to think like that was a community, and that's what music is when you find that community and you all come up in something, and and then all of a sudden it takes over, and then you're not ready for that too. I mean, that's the sad story of those guys is, you know, they were doing it for what you should be doing music for, is for the love of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I rambled.
No, that's like, it's so weird because it's like kind of the arc of so many of these music docs that I've been watching are like exactly that, like the big rise and then like the break.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't very often, and funny that I'm going to put this down on a recording, but I don't often cry when I read books. I read Chris Cornell's book, biography on Chris Cornell. And for the last 3 pages, it took me about 30 minutes to get through because I was weeping, like uncontrollably crying of just being like, I can't believe this story that I just read and just how things happen. I was like, this is, it's that tragic story that has happened so many times that it's so, there's no way to stop it. And as much as we think people should get help, and when you do, it's always trying to stay healthy. And it's so hard. And it's funny how it hits the community of music, but I guess because there's so much of it out there.
Yeah. God, now I really want to read that book.
Yeah.
Need a good cry.
Yeah. It really, it really hit me. For some reason, I was reading it. My wife comes in. She's like, "What's wrong?" Because I read downstairs in the studio while listening to music, and I'm just like, I can't get through these last 3 pages. I'm so distraught. And Chris Cornell wasn't a big deal to me. Like, yeah, he was uber talented, and I love reading those type of books. And I couldn't get through the last 3 pages. I was like, I can't do this. It's so sad.
God. I was like, now I'm like, what happened? I'm like,
well, just hearing him, he buried all of his friends.
Oh man. Yeah, that alone. I can't, I feel like, yeah, that's.
You don't ever want to be the oldest person on earth because everyone you love is already gone. Right. Yeah. So,
God.
All right. On to more fun things. Okay. So that was the down portion of our episode. So you can mark for edit if you want when listening to it.
I know,
but you did bring up a good thing with watching your father playing music and him always being happy. Yeah. And I think that's what music really is. Have you ever had a point in your entire time of playing music like not being happy?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, probably like not in the actual act of playing music, I guess, but I'm thinking about like some really grueling tours where things are going terribly, or there was like tension between band members, and not even my band necessarily, but other bands I was a part of where like these things are really rough. I think those are the only moments when I've been like, oh God, I gotta find a new gotta get out of this situation. But I think that was like, you were always saved by the show most of the time. Like when you were actually playing music, if you liked the music and at least could like separate your daily touring experience to just like live in those shows, then it was fine. But so I've always been happy playing music for the most part, unless something terrible is happening on stage. But that's a good question. I've never actually thought about that, but unless I'm also like grieving something and then writing about that. But that's not necessarily, it's sad in some ways, but it's also
cathartic
like
in others.
Yeah, healthy. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's a good thing to think about. But yeah, touring, I guess, can be a dark side of making music.
Watching your father play guitar, did you move right to guitar, or were you like one of the 90 million of us who were forced to take piano lessons?
Oh man, yeah, I did. I was forced to take piano lessons, which, like, that's so funny to me now. I wish I did it for like 4 years and quit. And I like, still I'm like, why did they let me quit? Like,
yeah, listen, I wish every day. I'm like, I wish my parents were harder on me.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to do it? All right, cool. I'm like, shit. Now in my older age, I'm like, I just want to sit down in front of a piano and play piano the rest of my life.
God, exactly. I like really loved it, but I think I like also was like trying to play soccer or like sports of some kind or something, and was like, not like I was good at any of that. Like tried. And but yeah, so I like, they let me quit piano, and then yeah, like my dad had that acoustic guitar and I would like plunk around on it and showed enough interest and wanted to do that. And then my dad and I, our birthdays are 2 days apart. So I think it was like my 12th birthday. We like both got an electric guitar. It was like, I just like took it. It was really just mine. And then like that became the path forward. But yeah, I still wish I would have continued piano lessons. I can play now a little bit, and we like have a little piano. But yeah, God, it would be so nice to like have that skill in like a real way.
When you started playing guitar and doing things like that, was that did you rush out to find other people who were playing music to start a band, like usually happens when you're in middle school and high school, like finding other people who play music and trying to form a band?
I wish I would have been that brave. I think I was like kind of like shy and a bit of a loner, and I didn't really know how to do that. And I think that was the other thing. I didn't think I was good, which is funny. I mean, like we were talking about being so self-critical of ourselves as musicians, and I'm like, man, if only I just could have like got out of my own fucking way and like been like, hey, you guys want to play music with me? But I played music, or like played electric guitar by myself in middle school, and like didn't ever have a lesson. Like I think there was like a chord book in the house, and I like learned that, and it was like the era of tabs. So like you just go and learn like anything you were listening to, and that kind of like, I think that also kind of changed the way that I thought about music and started playing music differently because of the tab era thing. But I didn't play music really with anyone until like late high school. We had like there was an old darkroom that had been kind of like, I don't know how this happened now that I think about it, but they had a computer and some studio monitors and like an interface, like a digital interface. It was probably not, I don't even know what it was, but we were using Digital Performer, I think is the DAW. And then we just got to fuck around in the studio, and I was like obsessed, and I was so excited, and like would go in really early and stay really late. And that was kind of like where I think I found some kind of community in music. And like I think as a part of whatever class that had this, there wasn't an audio class. I'm like, why was this equipment there, and why did they let us use it? Like there was no supervision. But anyway, we're like kind of screwing around in there, making all these songs and recording. And I think that was the first time I'd played with anyone or even like showed anyone music I was really working on. And that was exciting. But still, even then, like I couldn't really see myself for, I think, who I was at the time. I was like actually probably okay. I was good, but I never, like I wanted so badly to be in a band. I like longed for that forever, even through college. Like, and then I think I just like was kind of like didn't have the courage to go and ask anyone to play. And that I like still kind of like there's a beat of sadness in that, like where my life would have been or how it would have changed differently had I started or like been braver to be in a band when I was in high school or even in college. Because it took until I moved to New York, and then I joined like a folk punk band, and and that was great. But it took a long time to actually get to that space. So
was it just a lot of self-doubt constantly running through your head, or because when you're creating music at a certain time, you're onto something. Was it just scared to share that with people?
I think so. Yeah, it's so funny now. I'm like, what was my problem? Like I was in choirs and like definitely had like an understanding that I was like, decent at music on some level. And like, people would be really complimentary of me. And I remember playing at like the talent show, and like, people said nice things, but I like couldn't absorb it, which is so sad. I'm like, I think about myself as a young person, but also all the young people I see where I'm like, God, if I could just shake you and be like, oh my God, hear what people are saying, or like hear that you're like onto something, or that you're enough, and go with that, start there. So I think there was a lot of self-doubt. And then I think too, what I was playing, I think, well, there's two parts of it. I think what I was playing, I didn't hear many other people playing, so I didn't really know where I fit. And then because I didn't have lessons ever, I think I kind of always felt really shy about what I thought everyone else knew everything about, like playing guitar. I thought that all guitar players just like knew and like had lessons and knew all of these things that I didn't, even though I had all this theory information from those piano lessons or being in choir since I was in 6th grade. But still, I just like had this total misunderstanding and thought that because I didn't have lessons or didn't know certain things about the guitar that I couldn't participate in that way, which was such bullshit. And I think now looking back, and even 10 years ago could look back and see that my whole approach to music and songwriting and playing guitar was so influenced by not having lessons. And I got to approach it in a way that I don't know if I would have or could have had I had those lessons, or kind of had a better understanding of what I was doing. And I got really into like alternate tunings and like weird capos and cut out capos and all this kind of weird stuff, trying to chase something that I hadn't heard yet, I think. And that was a great gift, but I think it took me a long time to see that, instead of just thinking that, yeah, it's so funny what misunderstandings we have as young people. But that was a major one.
Because you find yourself, you stick to the standard. Like when you do something and find something with other people, you're always going to have that alpha in a group who's going to tell you what's good, what's not, if you're doing something right, if you're doing something wrong. And I mean, listen, let's be honest, that's why a lot of bands don't last. But I mean, for you to have a slow burn, right? To have that flame slowly going to get till now, I live my life with no regrets. And like, that's the thing, is I never look back, because nothing's ever going to change. So the only thing I can do is go forward. So at that time when you're trying to create music, you're very self-conscious of what someone's going to say about what you're doing. And, it takes a long time to grow up and doing it, and just be like, fuck it. I'm just doing what I'm doing because I enjoy it. And someone else is going to come along and enjoy it too. And then that's the only thing you're really ever going to need.
Yeah, that's so real. I wish I would have seen that when I was much younger, because I think always like the things that you love and that you care about, someone else will too. And I think anytime, and we all know that, like anytime you chase someone else's vision of you or of what you do, or like, like playing to the crowd, that's like when you create some of your shittiest work.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of.
Well, it's the old adage of stop looking for it and you'll find it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Now, learning to write songs, I mean, was that just listening to what was around you? Was that just, looking at and learning from tab books to write your own songs and to see how song structure is made? Or was it just something that started as poetry and turned into music, or music and then lyrics came after?
Music and then lyrics came after. I think I really just loved playing guitar, and I did that without really writing songs or really knowing what I was doing until I was like 14. And then, like the angst of teen years, suddenly you have so much to write about.
Like, I mean, you've gone through so much.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's what's always funny about it, because it always comes up, and it is that teenage angst, and because your life is so hard, because and that's the thing. You've seen so much, and now it's just time to write love songs about heartbreak and not having money and can't paying the bills. That's where some of the best songs are from.
Yeah, it's still funny to like. I really wish I could find some of those old cassettes that I made. Just be like, what was I so like had to emote about when I was 14 or 15? But yeah, I think from like listening to all those songs and learning those songs, and then I think they just kind of started to happen. And I'm like trying to remember a time when I even like shared those songs, because I think I just was writing for myself. It's kind of a weird thing to think about. I'm like, well, I don't really know. There was never like I didn't know what to do with them, or like there was never like I don't know, like I wasn't like going to write a song and be like, okay, now I'm going to show mom and dad, and this is me now. But it was like, took years. And then I think in that studio, like recording all these, were like demos essentially, but also like experimenting in a studio and being able to layer things and harmonize and do, and like chop, and all the things that you kind of like, that was like an eye-opening experience. But it wasn't until then that I really like had any like plan for it. I just kind of started doing it. It kind of is like a pacifier, like soothe my inner turmoil. Do
you remember the name of the first song you ever wrote?
Oh man, I think Oh God. There was one that was like, I think it was some line about like out of the smoke and into the clear. Something. So I think maybe that was the song title. There was another one later in high school called Quick to Crush.
Okay.
And then there was like
So deep.
so deep. Yeah, pretty clear what that one was about. And then there was like another one, I think it was called Boys and Girls. And it was like I think because also I'm gay and I think at the time really like couldn't kind of like put my mind around that. So I think there's like a lot of those songs that like I'm like hedging towards an understanding of my sexuality, but like never got there. Like listening back, I'm like, that song's totally about a girl. Like, what were you like? No one said anything. Like how did I not? Was I not aware of this? So I think in that way there was some those songs. I should go back and find them. If I do, I'll embarrassingly maybe send you a 30-second piece of it.
You just listen, just rip a new tape and ship it to me because I will listen to it. I have my tape deck here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I was like, God, do I even have a tape player? Where's my Walkman? But yeah, so I think those are three that I can remember. But yeah, yeah.
What was the name of your first band?
I think that was always something I kind of was warring with. I really didn't want to do anything under my own name. I thought I think I just didn't want whatever my musical adventure was going to be. I didn't want to be trapped under my own name or my own identity. And I loved the idea of having a moniker or like a band name, even if I was playing solo, which is now kind of what the Still Tide has become, is like this flexible project where it's like all of my songs and I'll play out solo as the Still Tide, but also we'll have a full band as the Still Tide. And I like that flexibility too, but I also really love not using my name. So I played out under my name when I was in college, I think. And then, this is so, I just like don't even want to tell you.
You have to.
So bad. And then in New York, this is so bad. I'm embarrassed, but I had a band. Again, it was just myself. And I think it was like one of those things that I was never supposed to like be a real thing. I think I was like experimenting with MySpace and just wanted like a secret landing space for stuff. And so it was called, this is terrible. It was called Yet Cut Breath was the name of this band.
Okay.
And it was like a really, it was like a Shakespeare reference. And it was like something that we'd studied in class. And I was like really intrigued by this passage it was from. And the idea that it actually like kind of cuts your breath it's so dumb. It was so bad. And I wish that like I'd had any close friend that would have been like, hey, like maybe that's terrible. Like, because it was never supposed to be anything. And like, I think I even put these songs on a MySpace page under this band name. They were just like, like garage band demos, essentially, like just kind of the starting place to be like, what is it like out here? Not like I was showing it to anyone. And then I, over time, like gathered some bandmates around it. And that was kind of the beginning of the Still Tide and that harder band or like harder rock project. And then we like, oh man, so that's super embarrassing. But
no, that's fine. I just found the name of our episode, Yet Cut Breath.
Oh,
so
fuck.
It will live on forever.
Oh God. Well, we actually did. Oh yeah, that was just like, oh God, looking back, just yeah. Anyway, foolish. And then around that same time, I was playing bass in a band called Drew and the Medicinal Pen, which is also like another mouthful of words.
Someone have diabetes?
Yeah. I mean, that would have made sense, but he was more like, the medicinal, the soothing act of writing and how that was like, I think that's what it was about.
Okay. Hey, listen.
It wasn't my idea. So
listen, everybody, there are names. Everyone's got them. And it's totally fine.
Oh, I'm sure there's some other like terrible ones in there that were lost along the way, but God. Oh,
now, when you started playing, since it was so hard for you to come up and start, showing people your music, what was it like the first time you performed in front of strangers?
I'm sure I was really nervous and probably like sped through the song. Like I'm sure that it was like probably a 3 or 4 minute song and I'm probably like did it in 2 minutes and was like, okay, thank you, bye. And then I ran off stage. I'm trying to remember the first time I played a song. I feel like it must have been at like a talent show or something.
Usually talent shows.
Yeah, that would make sense. That has like a weird memory. I'm like, oh, that would be. And I think I was like used to performing on some level in choirs and like then like a jazz choir when I was in high school. And so we would like,
You're just full of cool stuff.
Is this cool? I don't know. I mean, actually, I can say, yeah. At the time, I remember being like, I loved it. I really did love it.
But you could hide. You could hide there. So wasn't just, what I'm like. Choir's great, but you were still kind of hiding around other people. So that performance level is completely different.
Totally. And like in that jazz choir, I think because it was like a really small group and you would have like quartet style outings and like a few solos, and that was super nerve-wracking. But at least I had like a little piece of what that was like. And then performing, I actually think I did okay, but I was super nervous and I'm sure I like, blacked out essentially when I was doing it. But I played that talent show, and then I think I played like some graduation thing. And then like at, drunkenly at parties, I'm sure like people would pull out a guitar and I would do that.
I mean, everybody's done that. I mean, if you haven't, I mean, people who can't play guitar have done it. So, I mean, everybody's grabbed it and done it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And then I think like when I was in college, I had a fake ID that I really just, I mean, it sounds dumb now, but I really just wanted to like go to shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this really terrible fake ID. Like anyone that accepted it was just like kind. Like it was so clearly fake. It was so bad. Made by the girl down the hall that probably charged me like $50 for it or something. I don't know. It was like terrible, poorly laminated. And
it was McLovin.
Yeah, probably. It was just like, oh my God. And so, but I would go out and I would do all these open mics with this terrible fake ID. And I think that was when they would let me do that, because it wasn't like like who's going to go and get wasted by themselves at an open mic night? Like, probably like take pity on this poor child. Like she just needs to like play her songs and like sit in the back. And you like played your song for like a beer and hilarious, but did that around Portland. And then, did try to go see some shows and did definitely get denied, at least by a few smart bartenders or bouncers were just like, no one took it away though. They were just like, get out of here. And I was like, okay, thanks, sorry.
See, I was lucky. I had a show buddy, and she used to take her mascara, and she was a very good artist, and she would literally draw the hand stamp that they gave to you to get into the club when I was underage to go in.
Oh.
And it was awesome. Like, and all I wanted to do was go to shows. Like, I just wanted to see music. And it was like, sorry, you got to be, and this was like when you had to be 17 to get in, and I was still too young to get in. And I would just go to shows and like, sorry, you can't come in. And I'd go outside, and she'd come out. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, they're not letting me in because it's 17 and older. She would go to her car, get her mascara, draw the same thing that was on her hand. And I just walked right into the show.
Oh, amazing. Good friend. That's great. I do think about that now, where like I wish that, and we're like trying to do more like all ages shows, or even like 18, 16 and up. So I just feel like, what do kids, what is your live music experience as kids or as teenagers now if you can't go to shows?
Yeah. And that was back, for me back in the day, it was all DIY, and it was, the local firehouse or the roller skating rink, where I got to see some bands who actually became pretty huge, and I'm just a kid and in a firehouse down the street.
So
and
cool.
Like that was the all ages thing that you could go to, and it was on a Sunday afternoon at 4:00.
Sweet. Oh man, I wish they did that more. Maybe they do, and I'm just like not in touch with the all ages.
What was the first concert you ever saw?
I think outside of like our local bands, I think the first like big show that I even remember was either Bare Naked Ladies or Jewel. And I think I went because like my sisters wanted to go, and there was like an extra ticket, or like we all had to go together. And I think that was the first time I just remember being like, oh, this is like theater, and there are seats, and we have an assigned ticket number, and there's Jewel. And it was probably like in the heyday of Jewel when that show was happening. And then Bare Naked Ladies too, I remember was like, I can't remember what venue that was in Portland, but it was like a real show. It was like a big production, and that was cool to see. But
Yeah.
That was it.
Portland, the cleanest, dirty city I've ever been to.
Yeah. I haven't been back there in a while, but God.
I tell people, I'm like, that Portlandia is exactly what Portland is. Everybody's like, I'm like, I go, listen, I walked down the streets as the cleanest city I've ever been into, and I felt dirty. It's like, it was just something about it. It was I'm like, and it was weird. It was like, I don't know what it is about this city. I'm like, it's cool, but it's weird. I feel dirty, but it's clean everywhere. There wasn't anything anywhere. I was like, this is just weird right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I feel like that was one of the first. I feel like there's so many ghosts in that city because I went to college there. So I'm like, as you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, there were some really kind of like maybe regrettable nights or situations. I'm like, oh yeah, that was there. That makes sense that you're saying it's clean and dirty. I'm like, that feels right.
Sorry if I offended where you went to college, but I don't give a shit.
God, no. You have to be able to laugh either way. I'm like,
What was a favorite concert you ever went to, or favorite show you ever saw?
Oh, good question. That's such a good question. I feel like it has changed so much, obviously, over the years. But
well, yeah, it'll usually change every time you go to a show.
Oh, yeah, and I would hope so. I mean, right? Like, hopefully, but I think
that's what you long for.
Yes, yeah. I guess that's why we like partly go to shows, is to elevate that music listening experience. But I feel like maybe one of the first shows that I remember being really struck by was like it's a much longer story, but I was working when I was in New York, I was working at like a label, like a record label, and an artist management team, and I was sent down working with one of the artists that we were with to Bonnaroo, and it's such a long, funny story now, but at the time it was like an intense experience. But went down to Bonnaroo to work, and then because we had these artist passes that were pretty highly credentialed, we could get in anywhere, and we saw Bon Iver play, and it was like right when Skinny Love had come out, this like peak moment, and I remembered watching that show, and it was like several thousands of people in like a shed, and everyone was just so attentive. And I think that was the first time I think I'd seen music like that played out to a crowd that was so involved. There was like a level of tenderness in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a weird thing to
listen. I just got goosebumps, and I'm not lying. Like, if we were on video right now, you'd see it, because that was kind of my experience when seeing Bon Iver. Is you put it, everyone was attentive, and it's like so quiet, but everyone, it's almost feels like no one's thinking about everything, but everyone's thinking about the same thing.
Oof. Yeah. Well said. God. Yeah. Yeah. I was there. Yeah. And there was like kind of I feel like sometimes you're in a crowd of that size, which is hard to imagine now, but there's like, people are like vying for a spot, or there's this kind of like tension, or there can be, depending on what crowd it is. But like this, there was like almost like an encouraged feeling, like we were all like there together, and it was like thousands of people. Like, yeah, everyone was just kind of there for each other, also being there in that moment. It was, I think that was really special, and that was like, God, that must have been like 2009 or 10 or whenever that was. And that like was a marked moment of like, also because those songs, and I think that kind of goes back to that whole thing that we started the conversation with, of like being in these loud bars and trying so hard to like be heard or play above that noise, or just be noticed, or like make draw attention to yourself as a musician. And then like, and if your heart really lives in these like tender, sweeter songs, or like that first record that came out, it was like kind of an important thing to see people really connected with that in a live space. Like, there is room for everyone, and there is room for that music, and seeing that people on that level could just be so attentive was kind of a shift, maybe.
Yeah. And what's weird too is, for me, I mean, Justin Vernon's just, I mean, he's incredible. But when Bon Iver came out, it was kind of one of those things for, I mean, just for me as a listener and just a total student of music, I was like, this is phenomenal. No one's going to like this. Like, it was just one of those things. I'm like, this is amazing. And this is something that people aren't going to get. And a lot of people got it. And I was like, holy shit. So there's hope. So there's hope for music that's completely different than anything that you hear that tons of people can attach itself to. And it was like a bright shining light for me in the music world, that something that I thought was so different and so to some people could be off-putting, but I was like, this is magic. What I just heard is magic. And I'm upset because I had that feeling that no one's ever going to fucking hear it and like it.
Yeah. God, it's kind of crazy to think about that moment of like, yeah, before it blew up, like I feel like someone put it on a mix and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing.
Yeah.
But then didn't, like, now I'm thinking about other songs that were on that mix, for example, and they were like, you know, like tiny indie bands or like one-off, or like, it's so funny that I had no sense of what that was going to become. I guess kind of like what you're saying. That's funny.
And that's what gives me hope, and that there are things, and there's people such as yourself that I think are uber talented, and it's just, let's get that pocket of people and just say, this is fucking amazing. You need to listen to it. And I don't know how to do it anymore. Like, and that's the thing. There's no more of that worrying about getting on the radio, worrying about, like, it's just so, the way the music world is nowadays, at 30-second snippets, it fucking drives me insane.
Yeah.
You know, like, because back in the day when you had to, wait to record your song off the radio or invest your hard-earned money to buy one CD, and you're fucking committed now, and you fell in love with that CD because you were kind of forced to, but at the same time, it's still a brilliant fucking, CD, whatever you bought. But you just, if you only heard 30 seconds of it and you threw it, in the garbage, there's something totally, it's so hard nowadays. And I feel for artists such as yourself trying to get, your stuff out there to people. I'm all the way over on the other side of the country, and I heard your stuff and I loved it. And, it's just trying to get, how do we do this on a grander scale than worrying about your 0.00318 cents for a stream on Spotify.
Ugh, that still depresses me so much. But that means a lot to hear. I think sometimes I think in the last 2 years too, feel like you've kind of lived in this, like, a little bit of a vacuum, and you kind of forget, like, all these things, these moments that we've like attached to in music, or certain songs, or like there's like a kind of almost a sheen of nostalgia to some of it, but like I forget that can still happen, or that still needs to happen in a lot of our lives. And I think especially it's kind of like that social media, I guess, kind of poisonous thing where you kind of like only see this one dimension of what's happening within your musical world sometimes. And then if that doesn't kind of align with what you are hopeful for, then it can just be so disheartening. And especially when you can't even like make a living with any of the things you're like, any of the streaming or that whole.
It's sad, especially I go to so many shows, since that's all I like have to cling on to, and a lot in my life it is going to shows and seeing people perform and watching them perform. And I was at a show a couple weeks ago, and band playing, the guy was every bit of a rock star, and I'm just like, you're a fucking rock star, and like, so many people need to know who you are, and here you are on a Sunday night at some small little venue in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and you're a fucking rock star. And it's just like, is this guy ever going to get to where he should be? And it's like, it's one of those things where it's just like, it bothers me a little bit. Like, so many people need to know you, and when they do, I'm going to disown you. But so many people
As you should. I mean,
Yeah. I don't want to be a poser or anything, but it's one of those things where it's just like, I just witnessed an amazing fucking set by someone, and like the only people that heard it were the 100 people in this room. And I'm just like, fuck. Why is the world like this?
Ugh. Yeah. Makes me really want to go to a show. I miss that part so much. I mean,
listen, it was the greatest thing, when shows came back. I think my first show back after a year and a half was in August. And then I just went on a rip roaring tour of music. And then now it's like, I have a show on Saturday. I'm like scared that it's not going to happen. And like, it's just like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss everything that I love so much. Again, here we go.
I know. I can't even. It's been weird. I mean, we just had like all these breakthrough cases just like rip through our community and like our musical community. And so now we're watching all those shows kind of be canceled or changed. And it's I just did not expect to be back here, which was probably pretty naive. But I feel like after a while, your heart can't like take it anymore. You're
that's what it is. You know it's probably going to happen, but you're like, I can't believe it's happening.
Yeah, it's like, God, didn't we do this already? I mean, I'm sure everyone's thinking that, but I couldn't believe it when we got it. I mean, we're like triple vaxxed. Like, we're so unprepared, and now we're like, well, here we are. But now that's over with, and we're healthy again. So
I'm glad you're healthy.
Yeah, me too. Good luck out there, though. It's feels like new territory, weirdly.
Listen, I've done everything I can, and there's not much more I can do. So I have to try to get on. And I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, I can't. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to deny anything. I'm not going to. I did everything I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if it happens, it happens, and would just move on from it. And that's just. I mean, that's life. That's really what life is about. Listen, if it was all fucking roses, no one would ever be mad with each other. But it's not. And so let's just try and move on the best we can. And hopefully everyone that you know and love is going to be safe and okay if they do get sick. But you know what? I can't live in this hole.
Yeah. No, I think like just on a very like almost statistical level, like your mental health, like if that starts to slide, it's like, what's like that equation of like physical health versus your mental health at some point. Like, I feel like we've watched so many of our like kind of elders struggle so much the last year and a half that they're seemingly in worse health by being so protected but they were so alone that they kind of declined, which is really heartbreaking in some serious way.
And it's the same thing. What I'm doing here is like, I had to figure out a way to, keep a show going that started with being face to face with people to now, okay, how do I do this? And it was like relearning something.
Yeah.
But adapt and overcome. We shall.
I'm glad you made it. God.
Thank you. Now, I want to ask you, this is sometimes a hard question, but if you met a stranger and you told them that you were an artist, what song of yours would you play for them that you would say best describes, that you would pick and say, hey, if you want to know who I am as an artist, here's the song to listen to?
Ooh, great question. Oh, that's so tough because the ones that people like.
Yeah, but they're not
but they're
necessarily
not
what you think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on the stranger. That sounds terrible, but I was like, if I think you're going to like this hit, then maybe I'll send you in this direction. But I think the songs that still kind of live closest to my heart are the ones that I feel like kind of speak to what I hope for the project, or kind of the more lyric driven stuff, or the guitar parts that I feel really excited about. So I probably, fuck. It's tough. I have such a soft spot for Signal Fade because I really like that guitar line. But maybe something off of Each After, which is like kind of a more solo EP that we did before the last release. And there's some songs on there that I think just kind of like ripped out of me in a way that, like, Between Skies was such a weirdly labored process in many ways that like I like longed for that experience again of Each After, where it was like, oh, I have all these feelings, and oh, there are the songs, and oh, let's record them, and oh, let's put it out. And then it was like all in the space in such a short time, it all just kind of like was there. So I feel like in some ways that speaks to like a real songwriter core of me. So something off that, and maybe like Grow Again, or
There it is. That's my favorite song.
oh, thanks. I love that song.
So do I. So do I.
Oh, shucks. That one's like one of my, like, I still love playing that song live, and that's always a good sign too, when it can live in the live show. And I think some of the songs I really loved for a long time are like things that were like overly complicated that just don't work live. But that one still is like, I always feel pretty good about it. And also, like, there's something, I think the feedback you get over time about songs is interesting, but I feel like that one people really responded to. So I feel like it has grown in my eyes because people say nice things about it, or say that it hit them at a certain time, or if they're growing through a breakup. So the common.
Well, it was the song that grabbed me, that said, okay, now I have to just listen to everything.
Oh,
like just sit down, turn off the outside world, light a candle, turn on one light, and listen to the music. And that was the song that did it for me. So,
oh man, I can't even tell you how that just means the world to me, honestly. Like that I'll like put that in my pocket, and then like when things get dark, I'll pull it out and be like, no, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like recorded now, so you can go back and listen to it anytime you want.
I mean, I'll put it in my headphones, not in my pocket. That's what I'll do. Shit. Wow, that means a lot, though. Thank you.
Thank you for creating it. It probably means more to me now than you too, because I take ownership of it, because it's now my song. So
I love that. That's great. That's what I want.
All right, here's another headbanger, hard one for you. 5 minutes left to go. Meteor's coming to crash the earth, and you have to listen to one song. What one song would you listen to?
Oh my God. That's a great question. We just watched Don't Look Up. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't seen it. Is that the Leo one?
Yeah, it was really good, but kind of fucked us up. We at the end of it, we're like, oh, we're only gonna die. Shit. But God, well, oh man, my mind is just going through like hundreds of songs. I'm tempted to go with something that would be related to a comet or a meteor crashing into Earth, just for the fun of it.
And don't look for a cool answer. What's the first thing that comes to your head that you would listen to?
I think weirdly, I was thinking about records that I don't know that I like, because I'm kind of in that like revisiting stage of listening back to a bunch of stuff. I immediately, my first thought was something off of In Rainbows. Like, I don't know why. That's like kind of that just like jumped.
It makes sense. It's kind of like a soundtrack to the end of the world. Like you could put In Rainbows as a soundtrack to the end of the world, almost.
Yeah. Oof. But it's not like, yeah, I was like, do I want an upbeat song to be like, all right, we're gonna die, but I'm gonna put a smile on my face.
But I'm gonna be happy and dancing.
Yeah. Best way to die. Shit.
Pharrell's Happy.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know why that just made me so sad. Just thinking to myself, like, with my headphones, like crying, listening to like a happy song, being like, yeah, it's over. Here we go. But yeah, I guess Radiohead was my first thought. But I'll think about that. I'll probably think about that all year. I'll just every day. Right. It'll be like a daily exercise for me now.
And just shoot me a daily song that you would listen to if the world ended that day.
Yeah,
because it's going to change. Yeah,
yeah. That's a powerful thing. I want that exchange. I want your song, and I'll send you my song, and
Yeah.
Have an interesting year of
Hey,
near
we have
death.
each other's emails. We'll have our own end of the world playlist at the end of the year. It'll be very long, but it'll be awesome to listen to all the stuff and just lay on my back and look up at the sky every time I listen to a song.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. I think we should do it.
I'm in. I'll start tomorrow. Trust me, I will.
I would love it.
So let's see. How Rolling Stone would categorize it as your favorite band, but what I categorize this question is there a band that you listen to that has never let you down?
Also,
I think it's better
question.
than what your favorite band
kind
of question is.
Like, I couldn't answer that.
I can't answer it either. I mean, I have bands that not necessarily fall into my favorite band category, but there's bands that have just every time an album's come out has never let me down.
Yeah. Oh, that's like a much better question. I mean, just because we were thinking about Radiohead, I feel like that's one, but that's kind of like obvious. I feel like there's so many, like that whole catalog is so massive that I'm like,
I don't think it's obvious, and let me give you my reasoning why I don't think it's obvious that Radiohead could be one, is because every album is so fucking different and they took chances on every step that they took, unlike other bands that just, found, I guess the playbook and rode that out. They literally said, fuck you, every album we do is going to be different and you're either going to like it or you're not, but we don't give a shit because this is where we are musically.
Yeah. Oh God. That's like an important reminder. You just gotta do it, put out what you love and what interests you, and it'll lie.
Well, they were lucky that they could do that, because some bands that have to find the formula, they weren't, they weren't got the Radiohead massiveness that they could take those chances, and that's also an issue.
That's a really good point. And I'm like still like just thinking about all these rock docs, I guess, that I've been watching where there's like so many at some levels of success. There's so many hands in the in the pod, I guess, that it's hard to, like, you just can see where suddenly like the executives or whoever's in charge of the money or whatever just start to meddle with the the art, and the whole thing just starts to fall away. So you can be in that band that doesn't have to.
Those documentaries I think are so important, and I think more artists need to watch them. I think I've seen almost every music documentary out there, and it is when hearing a lot of the stories from people is like, you sign on, a label signs you, and okay, you make your album. If it doesn't do what it's supposed to do your way, the next two albums you have to make exactly how we say to make them. And that's where, first off, bands break up. That's where you get shit music from bands that put out an amazing first album that just didn't sell enough copies. And then they're left because some, record executive who has no fucking idea what music is supposed to be, but hey, this pop song's going to hit. And that's all we care about is units sold.
Yeah. Oh my God. So real. Yeah, that's exactly the. And then like, Now I'm curious, like, what's your favorite, or what would you highly recommend of the rock docs you've seen?
Oh, wow.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. So the one I watched most recently, and look at this full circle back to the grunge era, is the Malfunction story. It's the Andrew Wood story.
Ooh.
From Mother Love Bone. And the first band he was in with his brother was called Malfunction. But just watching that and hearing how people talked about him is just the fact that not one person had one bad thing to say about him. And I know it's also, it's kind of like watching Dateline. He was such a good person. And he died so tragically. I want the documentary where he was a fucking asshole and I'm glad he's dead. Like I never get that in any of it, but there's a lot of endearing stories about certain people, and just hearing that about somebody who was lost right when, to think about the band became Pearl Jam. That band became Pearl Jam, but Andrew Wood, that Mother Love Bone album, is still, to me, stands the test of time. It's one of those albums that I can put on any time and just be like, this is fucking amazing.
Oh God, I'm writing this all down. It's great. Have you seen the Brainiacs one?
Yes, I did watch the Brainiac one.
Oh.
That is, I mean, here I go again. I get goosebumps. Yeah, the Brainiac one's amazing. And to think that this poor guy who was a genius just had carbon monoxide leaking into his car while he was driving. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's actually, oh man, I've been haunted by that all week, but just watched that a few days ago and I was like, oh God.
Yeah, that's an amazing one. The Replacements one was really good too. Watch that.
I feel that's been on my list for a while. Oh, just drop pen.
And The Descendants was amazing.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know if you're big into punk, but that entire story is just awesome.
Oh, Brad, this is great. This is like feeling.
I'll send you a list because
oh my God, I would love it. Please.
Yeah, because it's one of those things like I watch them over and over again, and I'll buy them if I like them so much because I know I'll just like sift through some and be like, oh, I'm gonna watch this today instead of scrolling through Netflix or Amazon or something. Yeah.
That's a much better plan. Yeah. God, so much time wasted just trying to find the thing.
Yeah, you waste an hour trying to find something that's an hour long, and you're tired and don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
I'll send you a list of awesome docs and books that I've read too that are amazing music books.
Oh, I love that. That's like, yeah, I think just the last few weeks of just being at home and then like not having any energy to do anything but watch movies, which was like weirdly satisfying. I feel like the like overproductive person in me is like, but I can't just sit here. But then being so tired, you're like, well, this is literally all I have energy for. So
yeah, I usually have ants in my pants, and it's hard to like lock me down. So like a music doc, it's like an hour and a half. I can sit here. Same thing with reading a book. It's like I put it on. Okay, I got to pick out how many chapters I'm going to read. This is what I'm going to read right now because I know I'm not going to be able to sit here for that long. So
yeah.
But so I've kept you here quite long. I apologize for that.
No, it flew by. Thanks so much for having me. I laughed so hard. This was great. I needed all of it.
Good. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're doing well. You're safe. You're feeling better. Glad you've created everything you've created. I can't wait to hear more of what you created. I know our listeners can't wait. I also want you right now to be able to tell listeners how to find everything that it is that you do.
Oh, yeah.
All your handles.
Oh, my handles. It's all under the band name, which is The Still Tide. So Instagram, it's at The Still Tide. Facebook, The Still Tide. Even our website, www.thestilltide.com. Yeah, it's all out there. And we put out a record right before everything shut down, and have been like kind of slowly getting out of the last 2 years, but like the next 4 months, I think, are all I really want to do is just record and finally get something else out there in the world after this weird spell. So that will be out there someday.
And the name of that album is Between Skies for everybody listening. And I'm going to run down something real quick so our listeners truly get to understand how important it is to support an artist by purchasing their music or their merchandise or whatever they have. If you were to go and listen to a Still Tide song on Spotify, Anna only gets 0.00318 per stream. So, folks, people who create and put content out there and put their heart and soul into it, please support your artists because they're not making it just by you hitting a button and hitting play.
God, that really it's
But so here we are. We're going to move into our last segment, which is our weekly threes. As I just shit on Spotify, pull up your Spotify playlist and 3 bands that you're listening to that you'd like people to check out.
Oh, on my Spotify?
Well, listen, I was
Yeah.
trying to make a joke, but it's usually serious because people have to pull up their Spotify to find out what they were listening to.
Yeah, I definitely do. Well, I've been listening to Brainiacs because I wanted to like go back and listen at like good headphones and like really listen. So, I mean, but that's, I don't know.
Well, that's what music docs do. Like it puts
Yeah.
you into a full dive into what you just saw. Like, okay, now I got to go listen to everything.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like something else like that. What was it? I can't remember. I listened to or watched a documentary on like U2 making Joshua Tree. And I was like, God, what does that sound like as an adult? Like, I went back and listened to that one. But who do I think outside of these like throwbacks? Oh man, I'm literally looking at my most recently played.
I know.
Oh God, I feel like like a lot of these are people like my friends, which
That's
is
fine.
great. But there's like something so I just like love them and love their voices, and I think like I've like missed them maybe, so I'm like, oh, I'll just put on your record, which is
Well, give
great.
them to us because maybe we'll realize we missed them because we never heard them.
Yeah. Well, there's a band called Poor Lolo, which is a local Denver band, and it's my friend Erin, and I think she's amazing, and I love her songwriting. She inspires me so much. So that's one. That's like a recent play. Nathaniel Rateliff, that's another local that I love. Another
He's
bud.
awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm just like looking down this list. It's kind of funny. I'm like, oh, this is like trying to think about one that people don't know. Oh man. This is kind of fun actually. I'm like, oh yeah, I should listen to that.
Well, you already gave me 3.
Oh
now
yeah, should I
with
did.
Brainiac, so
But
you
I
can
guess
stop looking, trying to be cool and trying to pull up something cool. This is not what we do here. This is not the cool show. But
yeah, I guess those would be yeah. Yeah,
all right.
like yeah, those would be mine.
Those are your 3. So my 3 for this week are Young Mister, Stephen Fiore. He's a singer-songwriter. He's wrote stuff for pretty famous people, Howie Day, Ryan Cabrera, Art Garfunkel. But as true singer-songwriters are, they go out and create their own stuff. It's his moniker, which we were on the moniker thing today. I love monikers instead of going out under your own name. But Young Mister, there's an album called This Is Where We Are Now. I highly recommend check that out. Next, the Vagabonds. They're a Nashville-based Southern alt rock / a little bit of country in it. But there's an album called 5 or Roman numeral 5 to look it up. And last but not least, Romancer. They're a Canadian pop punk emo-ish band. There's an album called As We Both Close In on the Water. Romancer. Check them out. Those are my 3 for this week. 3 things that I've been listening to for people to check out. But
nice.
Anna, thank you so much for being here, telling me your story, giving me a nice hour or so of enjoyment. I really enjoyed our conversation. This has been great. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This was such a blast. Yeah, I needed it.
Well, good. I'm glad. I heard you laugh a lot, so that's what means the most to me is to get some laughter and some enjoyment in the shitty times that we live in. So I'm glad you're able to do that.
Well, now I have all these like music docs to listen to or to watch, and
I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you a big list of stuff. I really am.
Can't wait.
Along with my song tomorrow morning for the end of the world.
The end of the world. Fuck. I just hope that one of these days it's not our end of the world song.
Yeah.
Not to go so dark. God, why did I take it there? Anyway.
You had to. But everyone, you know what to do next. Go out, listen to The Still Tide, and have a great fucking time. Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.